Guys, welcome to Black Scout Survival Late Night Live. It's Christmas Eve, so Merry Christmas to everyone. Thanks for hanging out. I figured that things probably are winding down. You're probably staying up late, maybe doing, packing gifts, wrapping gifts, last minute stuff. And maybe you want to see a video. I've had this on my table for about 2 weeks now. This information I'm about to talk about. I think it's pretty serious. I thought it was serious when I first saw it. However, we had a lot of other things pop up before then that I thought were a little bit more pertinent to our daily lives. Anyway, so police illegally selling restricted weapons, supplying crime is what they've found. Now, first off, any firearm restriction to me is against the Second Amendment. I believe that there should be zero restrictions. I should be able to own a cannon, a fighter jet, whatever. I should be able to own the same equipment that the military has, right? Because if you look at the forefathers, the citizens in that era had the access to the same equipment that the military had. So I believe that that's what our forefathers meant, because that's how you actually keep people in check, right? If you're an actual threat to tyranny. Now, but besides the point, the reason why I'm talking about this is because it's like rule for thee, but not for me, it kind of thing. Now, some of these guys did get the rule for me too. But anyway, let me start off showing with this clip here, and then we can kind of discuss it.
A CBS News investigation found dozens of law enforcement leaders buying and illegally selling guns. A review of government audits and court records over the last 20 years uncovered instances in 23 states across the U.S., plus Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C., for a total of more than 50 cases. And people who were supposed to protect and serve were selling these high-powered guns and making a steep profit. Erin Couchy, who led this reporting, is here with me in Studio 57. She's a producer for a CBS News Crime and Public Safety Unit. Erin, this is so mind-boggling that these high-ranking officers are getting these guns and then they're selling them to criminals. In essence, the law enforcement officers.
So that's what they're talking about. And you can see here, CBS reports police illegally sell restricted weapons, supplying crime. So it starts off with Adair's police chief in Iowa, and Bradley went. Now, he was using his position to acquire firearms to sell for personal profit. Now, so he was getting firearms paid for by the taxpayer and then selling them. Now, I'm not agreeing with that at all. Right now, it seemed unusual because for his request, a 3-person police department asked for regulators to buy him 90 machine guns, including a M134 Gatling style minigun. I would love to have one of those. And those things are capable of shooting up 6,000 rounds of ammunition every minute, by the way, if you can keep it fed. And it was alarming because Adair, Iowa, maybe some of you guys live there, only has a population of 794 people. And so needing 90 machine guns, but it's kind of odd, right? It's not the norm. Now, a jury convicted Went for conspiracy to defraud the United States by lying to federal law enforcement and illegal possession of a machine gun. Now, I don't agree with that. There's no such thing as illegal possession of a machine gun. But the other thing is that they said that it was illegal possession when they actually gave it to him. So regardless, it didn't make sense. But he goes on to say, Bradley Went says, if I'm guilty of this, every cop in the nation's going to jail. He says he was sentenced to a 5-year prison term. And apparently this is part of a nationwide pattern. So it's happening all across the country that these police departments are acquiring various firearms that are not available to the public and then selling them for personal profit. So the investigation revealed, the CBS investigation revealed that this was not isolated. Like, there's many other cases of this, that police officers are buying and illegally selling firearms across apparently 23 U.S. states, including Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. And this goes all the way from the deep South to the Midwest, Northeast, all the way to California coast. So it stretches all across the United States. Now, if you look at the various court records over the past 20 years, they've uncovered at least 50 cases where police illegally sold their weapons that were given to the police department, not like a personal weapon or something they acquired weapons that were given to the police department, that they were selling a lot of them weapons online through various dealers out of their homes, meeting at gas stations, popping their trunks, this sort of thing. Now, one of these firearms was actually traced to a 14-year-old boy attending a high school football game and was shot with it. So these things are making it into the hands of bad guys, right? And you guys maybe remember Larry Vickers. He's a former Delta Force operator. He's also a gun YouTuber. He was caught up in something similar to this. You see that popular gun influencer conspired to illegally import machine guns. He still has a home on YouTube. Gun influencer Larry Vickers faces possible prison time after he pleaded guilty to conspiracy to import machine guns. Now, he was online for somewhat after his conviction of this, but he seemingly has disappeared. I looked for him, and I couldn't find him. So he must have ghosted everybody. Now, his ordeal is that he was linked to a Russian arms dealer. Okay, so he wasn't just selling; he was selling them internationally. So he was selling them to a Russian arms dealer, and he was involved with 3 police chiefs, 1 sheriff, including Larry Vickers. They sold machine guns directly to criminal traffickers, international traffickers. Again, he pleaded guilty, and I guess awaiting his prison time. I don't think he's been to prison yet. But the fact is, you got 3 police chiefs and a sheriff. Sheriff is a elected position. So you have these very high-ranking people acquiring firearms for their department and then turning around and selling them for personal profit. Again, that is not Second Amendment at all. Again, the machine gun, owning a machine gun, to me, I think it's totally reasonable. I believe in the law of attrition. Yeah, if you get what I'm saying. So all those guys with Larry Vickers pleaded guilty. The 3 police chiefs, the sheriff, and I think, again, Vickers is looking at 5 years in prison. He might get 3 with being a good boy in prison. But they also trace, listen to this, 26,000 firearms from a government agency. They trace them back from crime scenes. Okay, so let me preface this. 26,000 firearms that were at crime scenes were traced back to 3-letter agencies, whether IRS, FBI, CIA, used in crimes, along with police departments and military from 2017 to now. 26,000 firearms, even to our most highest level intelligence organizations. This also, by the way, included grenade launchers, which, again, I would love to have one. So we also, have had a problem at our southern border. But let's go back. I wonder how many of those people were convicted. Probably none of them. I remember reading CIA reports where people were losing firearms and nothing happened to them. Okay. Now, grenade launchers, those things are out on the streets, probably criminals. They're not selling these things to guys like you or I. They're selling them to bad guys, right? And our southern border has been open. ICE lost $100 million worth of firearms and ammo. ICE. Do you think they lost them or did they sell them? Oh, they didn't come. Was anybody held accountable for it? No. We need a total rearrangement of our government. And look, there are good people and bad people in the world. There's good people with a badge on. There's bad people with a badge on. I just talked about it last night. And I know a lot of you guys didn't watch that video. A lot of you guys aren't even watching the video tonight. But last night I showed the police that just walked by and didn't even try to save a woman who potentially they could have saved. This is becoming a problem with our authority not fulfilling their duties or obligations. And in part also taking part in criminal activities. Now listen to this. This is the biggest part. This whole video is down to this piece of the information you're about to hear. There's no accountability. ATF special agent in charge says he doesn't want to investigate these officers. He doesn't want to prosecute his fellow officers. He just wants to educate them. Let them know, hey, this isn't right. I'm not kidding you. Go look at the article. The ATF, the same people who just put out an article a few days ago saying that they're looking at how they can stop Trump from changing and taking the ATF back on regulations. They just did an article 2 days ago. The ATF had a meeting. We have a new commander-in-chief coming in office in 2 weeks, and these guys are having meetings. This is where we go back to shadow government, where we have these organizations that are blatantly treasonous, tyrannical, worried about this is what the people voted for. But they don't care. And would they treat you the same way as their fellow officers? Obviously, the ATF special agent in charge wouldn't. He wouldn't treat you and an officer the same. The officer, and you'd be going away like Larry Vickers. But then it gets down to the real question. Is this some part of a bigger scandal to create more violence in the streets? What's the number one mission has the ATF been? Biden administration, Biden-Harris, to remove the Second Amendment. They can't do that if everything's peachy keen. You heard me say that a 14-year-old young man was attending a high school football game using a firearm traced back to a federal law enforcement agency. So could these things be placed in the streets and these are not normal. These are machine guns. These are grenade launchers. These are things that you or I would not be able to have anyway. But when they use them with a high level of violence in the streets, they can use those statistics to remove you and I's rights to defend ourselves. To me, that makes it seem more plausible. It seems more like something these guys would do. That's how dark we've come. And, I talked about it last night, is that, I'm somewhat black-pilled. I don't know if there's any kind of going back. Like, I don't know if we can fix things. It may be too far. It will take a lot. And hopefully they can get it done quickly. But it's going to take a lot because they're going to get a lot of resistance. Trying to reel back this tyranny that you and I have been facing for this time. Somebody said they give them drugs in jail. Chucky Outdoors says they give them drugs in jail, so I wouldn't put it past them. And that comes down to personal profiteering. That they do that. You hear about inmates running the jails because how much money they have. The COs, the correctional officers, they have them on payroll. They don't make much money anyway. How many police officers, they don't make much money. You have to actually love to do that job. Many jobs, that is, but that's one of them. You have to actually absolutely love your job to go do it. And so that also forces the hand. That's why you see the cartel runs South America, Mexico. Because those guys don't get paid anything. The cartel pays more. That's the way of life. Money, the love of money is the root of all evil, like the Bible says. It's the way it is. But I think it's atrocious to me that the ATF special agent in charge would say that he would treat you and I differently than a police officer. The thin blue line will always back the thin blue line. Not all police officers. So if you're a police officer, a good guy, don't get upset. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the ones that have that mindset. There's a lot of that. I've been around. I know guys that said they'd do anything for the blue line, even if it's criminal to protect the blue line. I've heard guys say that. I know guys that would do that. So that's the way it is. Yep. So Antonio Diaz says COs allow the inmates to run the yard, quote unquote, as long as they get the cut and the gangs keep riots to a minimum. Nothing new. So again, do you believe that this is a ploy to push more violence in the streets, to take your rights away and my rights away? Or is this just some guys trying to make some money? I'll let you be the judge. Leave a comment and let me know below. Let me holler at some of these people real quick. These good people giving me Christmas gift. Paige, thank you. Bacala, thank you, brother. Merry Christmas. And Teddy B. Teddy B says, I'm retired NYPD. I give up. Merry Christmas to you, brother. And I know a lot of NYPD guys, man. And whenever they seen like what happened yesterday in the video last night, I feel for you, man. The NYPD used to be the organization in law enforcement, you know what I mean? And to see it go so far down, it's tough to see. It's tough the Marine Corps went down too, brother. So it's tough to see it. It's tough to see it when your own goes down. Anyway, I do appreciate you guys that took the time to hang out with me on Christmas Eve. I told you I'd make a video tonight. That way, in case you're bored, maybe you're alone, maybe you're not hanging out with family, you don't have family, whatever. You got to hang out and share some time with me for a little bit, guys. I do appreciate all your support and views and your purchases to our store over the past year, guys. I do really appreciate it. And man, I do wish every one of you very Merry Christmas. God bless your family, and Jesus Christ is the only reason for the season. Take care. Remember to stay frosty, stay strapped, and always stay dangerous.